What is up, everybody? How's it going? And welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to give you guys an update on Skye. I've actually made some progress. These are some of the tools that I've used today to do some of the progress. So today is April 29th, 2022. It's a Friday. So please stick around, check out the video, and I will see you guys there. Thank you for watching. Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, and smush the bell notification icon for future updates. Like I said in the intro, I've made some progress on Skye, the 2000 SR5. So these are the tools that I used. I didn't record it, but I'm going to show you what I did. And it was one of those just, I got a hair at my butt and I just... I was cleaning the barn, getting rid of old toolboxes, the cardboard boxes from power tools I've bought and stuff like that. And, I decided to I went out, cleaned the, a while back I showed you guys, sometime last year I showed you guys that I bought a used passenger side spindle. Steering spindle or steering knuckle, whatever you guys would like to call it. And I never cleaned it. I rinsed it with some water, but I never actually scrubbed it. So I have this original Purple Power, just a regular Purple Power. I've actually filled this bottle like 15 times since. So I just sprayed the spindle down and cleaned the spindle, and I'll show you what I mean by spindle. That's what it's called for Toyotas. This right here is the spindle, what broke off. It holds your caliper. These two bolts are for your caliper. It holds the brake line, the soft line to the body, and then the caliper has the hard line. And then you have your upper ball joint and your lower ball joint bolts to right here where it broke off. So I got a used one from Jason Young, and he's in Washington State. And so I cleaned the spindle with Purple Power, and then I got to work trying to straighten the frame, which wasn't the frame. It actually tweaked the cross member that is welded to both sides of the frame. In the front that holds the steering rack. The steering rack, I'm pretty sure, is slightly damaged. But so I'm going to show you guys what I used. I used the DCF 921 1/2-inch atomic compact impact wrench, and I used it on the bolt mode, which was actually interesting. It did one hammer and then stopped. And if you pull the trigger fast enough while you're doing it, it actually does like 4 or 5 hammers, and sometimes it will do 10 or 15 hammers and then stop. But I used that just to tighten the 5 of the 6 lug nuts. When I got into the wreck, I put all the stuff in the toolbox that was in the back. So anything that flew off, anything I found in the street, I put in that toolbox. So the caliper's in that toolbox, and there was, I threw all the lug nuts in after I, because the rim, the caliper, the brake line, both brake lines, and the rotor and everything was attached when the spindle came flying off. It broke both ball joints. It actually didn't break the lower ball joint. It just, the bracket on the bottom sheared. So the ball joint's fine. For the lower. The upper ball joint completely decoupled. So I put 5 of the lug nuts, and I lost it in the house. I mean literally in the living room. It rolled behind the shop press. So that toolbox right there has all a bunch of Skye's parts in it. Everything that was, the manuals, everything that was in the dash, everything that was in cubbies, center console and all that. So that box right there used to be right here, and this box was on top of it, And originally I put the caliper in that box because it was a red painted caliper. I didn't want it to get ruined because it took me forever to paint. And I dropped one of the lug nuts and it rolled back here. And then I moved all this earlier today and I still can't find it. Go lay down, Bullseye. Go. So, I put 5 on for now. The truck's not moving. So I used that with a 13/16, which is a very faded socket, and the Gorilla Key, because I have spline lug nuts. I used this Power Torque 3/8 flex head ratchet. I actually have like 4 of these. I love these ratchets, and they're not really expensive. The brake line, it has a thread in, and then it's got on the body of the truck, it's got a mount, and you slide it up through, and then you put one of those slide keys. I use this to help with a few things. I had to bend that bracket back up. It actually got bent down and it twisted. So I flattened it with the vise. The vise isn't in here, it's right out here. And then I use this to pull all the pop clips, Christmas tree fasteners off the rubberized cover. There's a little rubber sheet that covers that area, so I can get this off. And this was what was left of the ABS sensor. So I'm going to end up probably just chopping this, probably take this off the bracket, and I'm going to use it for something else. But just chop it right here and use it for you know, diagnostics. I use this is those brass, stainless, and plastic brushes you get from Harbor Freight. I used the largest stainless one to clean the bore on one of the older ball joints I had laying around that was in perfect condition. I did have to retap the nut for the outer tie rod end on the passenger side. A couple of threads got messed up, so that's why the Harbor Freight tap and die set is here. And this set has never let me down. This is the 45-piece titanium nitride tap and die set, metric. I do have the standard as well. The only thing I don't like is they always fall out. They never stay, like ever. But what I used was a 14 by 1.5 thread pitch. That is for OEM tie rod ends. I used the die because I thought it was the threads, and it wasn't. It wasn't the threads on the ball joint. It was actually the threads on the nut, which I was also, you know, of course, it's a M14 by 1.5. That's kind of hard to see. Trust me. Oh, there you go. So those are the 2 items I used. And then I used just a little tiny wrench that I threw over here. Here it is. Where is it? There it is right there. This guy right here, which this is just a little Pittsburgh 8mm wrench. And I used it on the square shank, like that. And I just locked the nut in the vise lightly, and then I just, you know, tapped it. So that's what that's for. I used the 10mm, the 19mm, 12, 13, and 16mm. And then I did use for the, because I had to put a lower control arm, because I took everything off. I actually had some old control arms. I painted both of them in case, you know, I wanted to replace both of them. They were never hardly ever used. I bought the truck, and then a few weeks later I immediately replaced everything on the front end, and that's why I have those control arms. I never threw them away. I just painted them and cleaned them up. So I used the 22 for the camber bolts, the camber bolts. for the lower control arm, because the lower control arm takes 2. And then I used the 17 for the opposite side, the camber side. There's a moving bolt that moves and threads, and then the opposite side you have the camber lobe, and the camber lobe was a 17. The actual bolt side was a 22. So and what I did is I used the floor jack, lifted it up until the truck started lifting, and I lifted the control arm, the lower control arm. I lifted the lower control arm up until the whole body started moving. That told me that the suspension was completely at ride height and compressed. And then I I tightened these up slightly, the camber bolts slightly, and then I put the rim back on, tightened that down, and I used this ox grip hammer, which has gotten definitely some abuse today. It was a pretty shiny face when I used it. It's gotten pry marks all over it. I was using that to bend the bracket back in place, because I put it in the vise. I used a couple of these sets of Pittsburgh the cold chisel. I used where did I put it? Right here. So I used the smallest cold chisel, pointed cold chisel in here, and I also used the pin punch, or pin punch, or center punch. This is a center punch, my bad. I used the largest center punch in this kit. Okay, the larger kit, I actually used this guy right here, which is another cold chisel. It's the largest tapered cold chisel in this set, and this one I used to align, because the steering rack has a large moon-shaped bushing, and then it's got a half moon-shaped bracket, and a stud and a nut on the bottom and a bolt on the top. That got tweaked, so instead of it being like this, it was like this. So what I used, and that also bent that portion of the steering rack cross member. It actually bent the top bolt hole, bent it up like this when it hit the guardrail. So I used this to go in and wedge it, and I was hammering down on this, which is why it's got marks on the bottom, to try to straighten that hole and get that hole kind of straightened back up. So that's what I used that for. And then I used penetrant for the tap and die. That's what I used, and it was just a PB blaster. That's what I used for that. I used a small little cheap Harbor Freight I got this in a brush kit. This is just the nylon soft bristle to clean the spindle around the actual section, behind the actual hub that attaches to the rim. I use this to clean this gap that's about this wide where the housing where the bearing sits, as well as the dust boot. There's a dust boot seal. So I use that. This I use to clean the spindle, the complete outside of the spindle, the arm, everything, where the ball joint was. That spindle came with a good ball joint. It came with a good premium ball joint in it. So I just, I'll change when I get a non-rusted spindle, I'll change it out. That spindle, the sticker on the back of the dust shield says 97. The 10th month of the 20th day on the 10th month of 1997. So it's not even for 2000, but it's the same spindle. So I use this to clean the spindle. This hammer I actually used, which is an old Estwing hammer. I use to bend some of the frame back in place, or the cross member for the steering rack. And this actually has a bunch of green paint chips on it because I also used it on the chisels. This I used to move the moon-shaped bushing on and off of the steering rack, as well as I used it to tap the control arm up into the brackets, so that way I could put the camber bolts in. And I had painted those control arms like months ago. I used this guy right here, which has got Red Devil grease in it, to just grease some of the bolts. That way when I was using the tap and die, that it was easier than this because I didn't want the spray all over everything. I did use a 12mm shallow for the brake line bracket to remove that, to fix that. I used the Milwaukee 2485-20 die grinder with a 2 amp hour battery, which has 2 bars left, just to clean the front face of the hub, clean the studs, as well as clean any rust off of the bracket, you know, the 2 forked tongues that bolt to the lower ball joint, stuff like that. I also used these quick adjusting crescents for a few other things. It says auto bite, so you just slide it down and then it will automatically go up. I use these for several things. This is just the container with those brushes that I was talking about from Harbor Freight. I've used these a lot. I have not replaced them yet. I use this just to hold the lug nuts, and this is an OEM Tools nut cup, and you know, the lug nuts in these 2 sockets in here, and I just magnet it to the side of the truck. And I actually used the Makita 40 volt GD T01, or Greg Donald's Tony 01, to impact driver with a couple chrome sockets to remove several bolts. It actually was powerful enough to remove the upper ball joint bolt or nut. It was capable of removing the lower ball joint nut. It was capable of removing, it was actually capable of tightening the lug nuts. I wish I would have recorded all this, but I didn't, guys. I will be taking you guys outside. We'll go look at the truck as well. But I actually used this on 2, speed 2, and it tightened the lug nuts up perfectly fine. I was just experimenting with it. I finished it off with the impact wrench, but I actually used this a lot today on this project. So now, you know, the truck's not running, and the reason it's not running is because the fan is so destroyed. It's making the engine wobble, and it's not smooth, and the truck doesn't want to start because of it. I know it will start because I started the truck literally the day after the wreck, or a couple days after the wreck when I got it home. But I also did go to Lowe's, so I'm going to show you guys this stuff right here. Look forward to this stuff. Got some stuff for my wife's garden, you know, fertilizer. We got some stuff for her shade cloth project. And I picked this up because I'm going to show you guys a comparison between this Warner 300 Adjustable Link Pro platform versus the one that Harbor Freight, or not Harbor Freight, but the one that Home Depot sells that is a Warner. Looks similar, but it doesn't have a lot of features that this one does. This one is $139. I had a coupon for $20 off. I got that for $119. To me, it was a good deal. The other one I got during Black Friday deals from Home Depot, it was like, that one was $129 platform, and I got it for like 30 bucks. So we're gonna do a video on that. So I'm gonna take you guys outside, and we're gonna go look at the truck. Oh, my foot is killing me, guys. here is Rose. Skye's still sitting in her same spot. I made some progress. I didn't make a ton of progress. I got a hair at my butt and decided I wanted the tire back on it. This tire is slightly off. It's actually cambered like this. Or not cambered, but towed. It's towed. Or not towed. Oh my god. It's castered. It's one of those days, guys. And it's because it doesn't have the rotor and it doesn't have the brake caliper on it, because I don't have a brake line at the moment. But you can see that this side is the side that I hit the guardrail with, because in any video you guys have seen since the truck accident, this side had no rim or anything, and I did take the lower control arm off. That was busted, which is the one that you guys have seen in several videos in the house. So here's the freshly painted one. You guys might be able to see that it's painted compared to that one. That one's kind of faded. Now that outer tie rod is kind of horizontal, where this one's pointing down. And this is that bushing I was talking about. Moon-shaped, half moon-shaped bushing, or a full moon-shaped bushing and a half moon-shaped bracket. So I got it started. I put this bolt back in right here. This lower bolt. It's freaking sun, man. There you go, right there. This bolt right there. Put that one back in. It's not moving the truck. This is the bracket that I straightened right here. It has this little nipple hanging off of it. That was a part of the old red brake line. I had stainless steel lines. I hooked up the ABS sensor that was literally attached to this spindle. This ball joint I already had. These are 8.8 standard bolts. And the sun is just like right in my eyes. So these bolts right here, I don't know if you guys can even see them. There you go, yeah, you can see them. So these bolts, I actually just got from Napa. They're just 8.8s. They're supposed to be 12s. I do have some 12s. I just couldn't find them at the moment, so I just threw those on. I have the 2 bolts from the old spindle, which came from this truck, for the caliper. So these right there are from the caliper. Rims back on. This one is from a 97. The sticker right there says 10/20 of 97. And it says ABS and everything on it. Upper ball joint this is the ball joint that came on this spindle, which is actually a very nice ball joint. It even has a grease zerk and everything. The lower ball joint, this is the one I had in the shed. This one right here, that I just cleaned up. This one doesn't have a grease zerk. The one I took off of this truck, I forgot to put back on because I couldn't find it. That one has a grease zerk. So I'll be finding the one with the grease zerk and I'll be putting it back on. And these are the camber bolts. And I marked months and months ago, like 2 weeks after the truck was home, I marked all of these camber bolts and the body with white lines to get it back to the exact same measurement in camber. And I'll show you guys in a second, but you can see that there's no rotor and there's no brake caliper in here at all. I will deal with that when I can grab, and I have time to grab another set of red stainless steel brake lines from 4x4 Off-Road. I reattached the shock, so you can see this white line on the camber bolt, or the camber lobe, and the body. This is the bolt side right here, and the lobe, and then there is a solid lobe on the back side. Show you guys the best I can. There you go, right there. There you go. So this is the back side. So this is a solid lobe with a nut on it that's welded to it, and you can see that the lines match up perfectly. Same with the front. So everything lines up. Got it back on. There's a close-up of the caliper bolts. You can see that there is no rotor, nothing. And this rim would be sitting out a lot further, and that might be why it's angled so much. It does have a lot of angle, and that's probably because the rotor hat sticks out quite a bit further. It sticks out about this much further, about 1.5 inches. So this rim would actually be about 1.5 inches further out. And that tire is straight, the steering wheel is straight, but this tire is actually cocked to the passenger side. And that could be because when I hit a guardrail, I hit the guardrail with the tire straight, and then it forced the tire this way, and then the tire snapped. The spindle, the lower mount on the spindle snapped, and it decoupled the ball joint, and the whole rim went wham like that, and then it swung this way and it flew off. So this could be bent because the frame is still not the frame, but the cross member for the steering rack is slightly bent still. And this is what's bent right up here. So you can see where this bolt right here goes. This mount right here is bent. It's kind of hard to show you guys. Let me see if I can move this. There you go. So this mount right here is bent towards the engine. So it used to be like this, it's now bent like that. And this one down here is what I use the hammer to flush and flatten. So that's how I got this one to go back in. So I might have to actually go to Eric West Toyland Auto in Maricopa near me, and I might have to cut this whole piece out from the body up here, because here is the actual frame. So this actually just welds in right here, and it's basically this whole control arm bracket piece, and then it goes all the way across for the other control arm, and then you mount the steering rack to it. So I'm pretty sure, based off of looking at it, this bent up and it's slightly twisted. It twisted towards the front of the truck because the way I hit the guardrail. That side, that's why that side, the outer tie rod is straight, and even the boot is straight. See how straight the boot and the tie rod is? There's not a lot of angle, where this one, there's this angle. So if I have to put a different steering rack on it, no big deal. I have a lifetime warranty for this steering rack, so my Napa rep could always get me another one for free. I also got to give him the other control arm. I just haven't given it to him yet. He can get me another free control arm, and he can get me a free upper and lower ball joints, because everything are lifetime warranties that I get from Napa. So I didn't put cotter keys in. I didn't put it in the outer tie rod or the lower ball joint or the upper ball joint. The truck's not moving, so it's not a big deal. I'll put them in later. I lined all of them up so I can just go under there and, you know, tomorrow or something and just throw in some cotter keys. Next is going to be the fan. I need to take the fan blade off of the new clutch. And let's see if I can get the hood open. There you go. I need a new hood. This hood is completely tweaked. Bracket's completely bent to the right. And this hood was straight when I flipped the truck. It was straight. And all this damage was done by the tow truck company because they dropped it off of a moving truck, which irritated me. I already took this fender off. More than likely, I'm gonna go to Eric West Toyland Auto, kind of drill these rivets or these spot welds out, and then cut all the way down, because this fender well is a solid piece. This whole quarter piece. So So you unbolt this front quarter panel from the core support. I do have a core support for the radiator. And then everything that's bolted here is all one solid piece. You have to literally cut it out. And I'm gonna weld a new one in. That way I don't have to deal with this amount of damage trying to pull it out, because it's pretty warped. But this fan's got 2 missing teeth, and they're oddly broke off. This one's sheared off, this one's kind of slightly broke off. So it's making the engine wobble, and that's why it doesn't want to start. It did start a few days after I got the truck back to the house. So I do know it runs. These headlights, I need to take these backing mounts off because they're broken. And they broke from the fire department. The grill's broken too because the fire department broke the grill. Actually, the grill might not be broken. I might be able to reuse the grill. It's got a couple scuff marks, but it looks like the grill might be reusable, other than there's a couple clips missing, which is okay. I still have some of those. I thought this was lost forever. So I do have both of these brackets. That's nice to see. These are the under the headlight brackets. So here's the headlight. Right here. Goes right there. That's where it goes. So that's kind of nice. One flew off. It was in the middle of the street. So now there's that one. That's nice to see. The radiator is broken. I just put a, some Scotch towel, shop towel, and just pinned it there so that way nothing gets into the engine. It still has windshield washer fluid. It still had coolant. It didn't piss all the coolant out. I did put this intake is actually the one that came out of Rose, because I took the cold air Volant intake that I had in here and I put it in Rose, and I just put this one in here. This is an Aisin Toyota. It's an actual Toyota original. Other than there is one piece missing, which it was capped off. There's the cap. So there's supposed to be another round shaped piece that goes right here, which is just a baffling muffler. Makes it more quiet. But so this actually has a sticker on it for timing belt replacement. That Rose actually had its timing belt replaced on 10/15/18 at 261,000 miles, which was literally like 20,000 miles after. When I bought the truck, it had 20,000 more miles than this sticker. So it has a brand new timing belt on that one, so not a big deal. I do have the interior still destroyed in here. I do have the front sway bar in here. There's the other control arm that I painted. That's nice, pretty black gloss. Here is the fender that I removed from the driver's side, quarter fender, and the scratch to heck fender flare. And then I have my toe straps, and here's the rotor that came off the truck. And then in the back, I have the fan shroud, the new fan blade, and a spare fan clutch, and a few other things. A lot of the dash pieces are up there. So I took the dash apart because they removed the stereo, so that way if it's sitting here for a long time, then it, can't get stolen. I took all the seat covers out of this truck, all the camo seat covers, and I put them in rows. I will be buying new camo seat covers for this truck. I did buy a bunch of camo seat covers for this one. So this one got brand new seat covers before Skye, because this one just needs a starter. And I haven't gotten to the starter. I have the starter and everything, but and I did clean the interior. These floor mats actually came out of Rose when we bought Rose, and I just threw them in here. And I always have like 3 sets of floor mats in all of my vehicles. So there's 4 in this one. The original floor mat, and then here's 2 Ed Hardy floor mats, and then the 2 that were in rows. So a little bit of work. I'm gonna have to replace the windshield, and the windshield was not broken when I flipped either. It didn't have no damage when I flipped at all. This is in good shape, as you can see. This was actually open because that's how I got out of the truck, is I climbed out through the roof. This got broken when the firefighters couldn't get the freaking hood open. Because I was in the truck. I went to go reach for it, and they told me, no, get out of the truck. So, you know, I couldn't open the hood for them, and they refused to try it. And this window is completely up. I'm not really sure why they put the plastic wrap on it. That window is completely gone. And the weird thing is this window was not shattered at all. This window was completely down when I flipped the truck. Luckily, my arms were not outside the truck. I need a new door, and I need new fender flares. If I can find back glass, which is unlikely. It's got road rash because they drug it. Because when I flipped, I ended up sitting next to the guardrail. So they had to drag it like 50 feet to get away from the guardrail and flip it back over. So that if I wouldn't have stalled right next to the guardrail, none of this damage would be here, other than the door. And the door is damaged because of the mirror. So the mirror is completely broke. It's actually still hanging on by a thread. This mirror is literally inside. So this door panel is junk. This door might be able to be straightened, who knows. I know all the speakers still work. I hooked it up. The headlights still work. The horn, actually, the exterior horn I added, the train horn I added still works. Everything still works on it. The AC, everything. So the truck's in good condition. Just gotta put a little love into it, and I got a hair up my butt, and I decided, you know what? Some kind of progress is better than no progress. It's not like I've taken the bumper off. The bumper valances, the grill, the ram guard, I've taken nothing off. I have a brand new bumper. I have a brand new, this piece right here is a bumper valance. I have the bumper valance. I have the upper valance, which is this piece right here. I have a new grill. The grill I would need to paint. It's just primered black and gray. So the slots are gray, the outside's black. I kind of like it. So what I was thinking on doing is I'm thinking on just putting that grill on Beast, because Beast's grill is broken. You know, might as well give you guys a large update video. So this grill is shattered in all kinds of places. This is a chrome grill somebody just painted matte black, but it's got a crack here. It's got a crack on this side. It's actually got cracks where the mounts are. So I'm thinking of just putting a 2000 grill on a 97. Be done with it. And I can always buy another grill. You know, the grills aren't too bad on price. Unless I decide to buy a custom grill that's like $400 or $500, I don't know yet. But these lights are gonna go on rows because this truck's gonna be sitting for a while. The fender flares and everything on this side, everything is good. The mirrors, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with this side of the truck. This back hatch was already messed up anyways. I hit boulder and a few other things at this back hatch, including a pole. The brake lights are fine. LEDs, everything's fine, other than the hatch is twisted. So when it landed on its side, it got a really large gap at the bottom. And then it got smushed right here. And this body line is squished a little bit. And then it got really, really wide. And then you go to the passenger side, and it's really close to the brake light housing. Really tiny gap. And this looks like a normal gap, actually, other than this right here. This right here looks like normal, so that got kind of tweaked and twisted out. This back window still rolls down, though. I know the truck still runs, it still shifts, it still does everything it needs to. Antenna still works. This panel is slightly messed up because of the fact that the hood shifted this way when they dropped it off the truck. This would have never been messed up if they wouldn't have, the tow truck company wouldn't have been moving forward while they dropped it. There was no rim, no spindle, nothing on this side other than a lower control arm. That was all that was over here. So when it slid off the truck, it slammed. That side had a tire and a rim, the driver's side, and when that tire hit the ground, this side had nothing to drop on, no tire or anything, so this front end smashed the ground, which is why this fender is completely toast. Which I have two fenders. I have two fenders, or outer fenders. I have the bumper, everything needed for the bumper and everything, so that's not too bad. I just figured I'd give you guys an update since I decided to just randomly put the tire back on. You know, it took me probably 3 hours of banging things back into place. It took me 20 minutes to put the spindle and the ball joint, upper and lower ball joints back on, and the tire, the rim and the tire on, and get the and all I did, like I said I was going to say earlier, but all I did for the control arm, here's a better view of that shiny control arm versus that one over there, which is not shiny. Is all I did is I lifted with the floor jack with a piece of 2x8. I lifted the control arm right here, and when the control arm stopped moving and the body started lifting off the jack stands, that's when I knew that the control arm was in its ride height position, and that also told me that it was good for me to align these camber bolts back up, put them back in alignment, and lock it down. So now the bushings will not rip because they're stressed. You don't ever want to lock these down when the suspension's sagging, or the bushing will get stuck in that position, and when it goes up to ride height, it'll twist and rip the bushing. So that's how that works. Everything else is looking good though. At least it's sitting on wheels at the moment. Sitting on 4 tires, it could be pushed and moved. I will get the only thing that's holding me up for the rotor and the brake caliper is just a single soft steel braided line, and I'll have the caliper and everything back on, and that should straighten this tire because it's leaning quite a bit. It's leaning like this. It should be like that, slightly straight. It should be leaning a little bit. There should be a little bit, because on this side there, you can see on this side there is a little bit of angle, and that's just the way these trucks sit. They sit with angle on them, and it's kind of hard to see, but this one's slightly angled in. Even Rose is that way, Beast is that way. They all have that angle. The bigger the tire you go, the straighter they end up though. So these are bigger tires, like 4 or 5 inches bigger. But that is all I got for you guys today. I wanted to show you what tools I used, and then I wanted to show you guys some progress. Just been really lazy, didn't want to do it. You know, when I start chopping into her, that's going to be when the real work gets done. And by the time I chop into the fenders and everything, or that's the driver's side fender, that's when I'm probably going to put the bumper on. The fog lights and everything survived. But I just wanted to show you guys the tools and everything that I used today. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you guys would like to see me chop it, you know, the busted out fender wells and the inner fenders and everything, you guys want to see that, you guys let me know down below. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Just, I wish I would have recorded it. It would have probably been way better to have recorded it. But, you know, it happens when you get a hair up your butt and you just randomly go out and do something, you know. Sometimes you just don't think about the camera. You know, I got a pigtail out of it. You know, something I could use for diagnostic, though. most of the plugs on 3rd gen 4Runners are this exact plug for dang near everything. But appreciate you all watching. I did clean up the barn as well today. I also got this section cleaned up. So these bottles need to go out now, but all the parts and everything that were over here is all cleaned up. I even cleaned up this spot right here. It's not so cluttered. I appreciate you all hanging out with me today, checking out the video. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, smush the bell notification icon for future updates if you like these videos. I've been impressed with the ONYX brand of tools that I've gotten from Lowe's. A lot of these tools were Harbor Freight tools that I've had for years. These are Carlisle sockets. And the socket over there, the impact socket, is a Carlisle socket as well. You know, Pittsburgh, Power Torque, you can do all this stuff with cheap tools. You don't have to have expensive tools, even though I have lots of Snap-on, Matco. You know, I just went out and just decided to give her a little love. You know, Skye has been with me since day one, since she was born. And I couldn't let her go. You know, it is what it is. You know, some vehicles you just can't ever let go. There's just too many memories. But I do appreciate y'all watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and smush the bell notification icon for future updates. And go check out my Amazon affiliate links, my Acme Tools affiliate links, my DJI Electronics affiliate links, as well as my Ohio Power Tools affiliate links. And these guys right here, these double box end wrenches, are actually these mats right here, and they are Capri's, not Carlisle, but these are Capri wrenches, double box end wrenches. I hope the videos are helpful to you guys. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Now, gotta get on to this video. You guys, take it easy. Thanks so much for stopping by. Peace!